Welcome to the third video newsletter of the UIHJ and the UEHJ. With this newsletter, I would like to inform you again about the progress of our work since the last edition and give you a preview on future meetings and events. But first, let me thank you for spreading and liking the last newsletter from March 2019. It was viewed by more than 2,000 people and shared by many of them. With this edition, I'm glad to inform you about some events which have recently taken place. The UIHJ Africa-Europe meeting was a huge success. Under the topic Cross-Border Enforcement Towards an African Enforceable Title, representatives of 19 African and European countries of the OHADA, the ASUMA and the Hague Conference on Private International Law discussed the interest for institutions, citizens, investors and economic actors to introduce an enforceable title that would facilitate the cross-border enforcement of court decisions in Africa, particularly in the OHADA zone. At the end, 3 important recommendations were proposed to facilitate the creation of an African enforceable title. The 10th anniversary edition of the International Conference on Compulsory Enforcement, organized by the Federal Bailiff Service of the Russian Federation in cooperation with the UIHJ in Moscow, was one of the highlights of the year. It was attended by representatives of 58 countries coming from all over the world. For 2 days, the current state of enforcement and development vectors were presented and analyzed. The importance of the digitization of the enforcement procedure was in the middle of the discussion. There's no doubt that the UIHJ can become a key player in digitization of justice and more specific in the field of civil enforcement by drafting position papers and recommendations. This would be a marvelous opportunity for us to ensure the sustainability of the profession in a process where AI and modern technologies are changing the world in the speed of light. The planned creation of a global code of enforcement on digital assets by the UIHJ could be a milestone in its history. It will be the opportunity for the UIHJ to become a pioneer in that field and to influence the creation of national legislation that would be, right from the beginning, harmonized on a worldwide level. Furthermore, the UIHJ participated on many meetings and conferences, as for example a CEPEJ working group meeting concerning the discussion of the implementation of the principles of the European Ethical Charter on the use of artificial intelligence in judicial systems and their environment. We also joined an international conference in Bangkok under the topic of civil judgment enforcement under a disruptive technology, which was attended by more than 400 participants. On that occasion, a Memorandum of Understanding was signed by the UIHJ and the Ministry of Justice of the Kingdom of Thailand on academic cooperation. We were also present at The Hague during the finalization of the so-called Judgment Convention, which ensures the recognition of judgments and facilitates the enforcement. The advantages are obvious: certainty, predictability, clarity, simplicity. Costs, timeframes and risks are considerably reduced. Finally, allow me to mention that the UIHJ was requested by the Supreme Court of Cuba to share its experience and knowledge on the matter of legal reforms. A UIHJ expert team visited Cuba at the beginning of July and explained the advantages of the profession of enforcement officer and those of a well-working civil enforcement system. International standards and best practices were presented. And now, as usual, let's look ahead to the upcoming events. We will participate in upcoming November on the Law, Justice and Development Week at the World Bank in Washington. The participation of the UIHJ on this important event has already become a tradition. A conference organized in Buenos Aires beginning of November will give us again the opportunity to strengthen our contacts with our colleagues in South America. And of course, the UIHJ will participate on the first International Forum for Legal Professionals mid-November in Dakar and demonstrate through its presence its attachment to the African continent. The cooperation with other international organizations to strengthen enforcement remains important. Just to give you some examples, we participate in enforcement projects in cooperation with the World Bank, the European Union, the OHADA, USAID and the Council of Europe. A good example of such cooperation is with CEPEJ, the European Commission for the Efficiency of Justice. On the 4th of December, the UIHJ organizes, in cooperation with the CEPEJ, the Second World Forum on Enforcement. New information and communication technologies will be discussed. We will focus on digital assets and try to find out how to attach them. Furthermore, the use of blockchain technology in the field of enforcement and smart contracts will be on the spotlight during this forum. There are still a couple of places available to participate on this forum. For further information, visit our Facebook page. To conclude, let me just inform you that the UIHJ received a couple of requests from new countries to become a member of our organization. We will announce the candidatures officially during our next Permanent Council that will be held on 28th and 29th of November in Paris. But until then, we will keep the secret. We hope that you enjoyed our newest edition of our video newsletter and we invite you to share it. The next edition is scheduled for spring 2020. See all of you back very soon. Thank you and goodbye.